Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out Am I the A-hole? Story 1. AITA for not buying my son a car like I did for the rest of his siblings. I, 49M, have 4 kids, twin boys, both 27, 1 girl, 25F, and another son, 21M. This post is about my youngest son, Jack. Since they were children, I promised my kids 2 things. 1. I'll fully pay for all of their college expenses, housing/tuition/food etc. And 2. Once they graduate college, I will buy them a car. I kept that promise for all my kids, except with Jack, and now I want to know if I am an asshole for that. I paid for Jack's college expenses, but I am refusing to buy him a car. Below is some of the reasons why. I signed my name on the lease for Jack's room that he rents with a friend, and I send Jack his portion of the rent every month. The friend started taking advantage of my name being on the lease and stopped paying for rent too, knowing I will cover the amount because I don't want missed payments on my credit score. I asked Jack multiple times to ask his roommate to pay his portion, but the boy did not care to even respond to me, and I ended up paying for 6 months of his friend's rent too until I finally solved the problem by getting my name out of the lease. Jack have a very rude and entitled attitude. He speaks to us like we are his low-performing employees. The only time he contacts us is when he wants money and goes no contact otherwise, and we don't know what we ever did to him to treat us that way. Last year when my wife had to be hospitalized, all of my kids flew back home to be there for their mother. Jack didn't want to, but one of his siblings bought him a ticket and talked him into flying out. Instead of being glad to be beside his very sick mother at the hospital, he spent the entire visit making everyone run errands for him. His sister has to cook a very specific type of meal for him / we had to drive him to the gym at a very specific time he demands etc., and acted like it was one huge inconvenience for him to have to fly out. I even talked to my other kids about whether we were bad parents that caused Jack to act this way, but all my other kids don't know why he ended up so entitled and spoilt. The rest of my kids are extremely different from Jack. We all get along with each other and care about one another. For the rest of my kids, I spent maybe $100,000 on each kid's total college expenses. With Jack's careless spending habits and unwillingness to save us any money, Jack's college years ended up costing me $180,000. So I refused to buy the promised car. Jack's upset and has gone to his grandparents complaining about me. My mill already hates me and now is calling me an asshole, saying I am playing favorites because I bought everyone a car and not Jack. Story 2. AITA for wanting to remove my husband's deceased mother's decor. For years we have lived in a home filled with the furniture that was once my husband's mother's. I have always said how much I appreciate her things because we didn't have enough money to get new decor/furniture. Her style is nothing like mine. Everything is dark maroon and brown tones. If I could decorate myself, I'd have a Maximilian, emerald green, gold, and pink, boho type of vibe. From the beginning of our relationship I learned not to say anything negative about his mother's things. Also, I would be happy to move his mother's things to another designated spot instead of taking up the majority of our home. When she passed away he told me I could have her clothes, and I picked a few things out but didn't want much because it just isn't my style. She was in her late 50s while I was in my early 20s. He took offense to this as if her things weren't good enough for me. Now I'm getting the same situation with her things. There isn't one room here that is decorated with much of anything I've chosen. Her things take up the space everywhere. Yesterday I took down 2 paintings that were not hers. One I painted myself and the others were from the store. My husband comes home and asks why did I take them down. I say because I am growing tired of living in a home that doesn't feel like my own. He said, so you feel like you have to pick everything out for it to feel like your home? Mind you, I have barely picked out any decor in this house. He was upset because he chose those 2 paintings to be up by our bed. I said if I could I would take more paintings down and decorate how I want, but I know we're not in the financial space to do that. He got angry, got up and proceeded to take down all the paintings and decor in the house. I didn't ask him to do that, nor was I trying to tiptoe to him doing this. I didn't want him to take down the paintings. He took my feelings as an offense against his mom. I was trying to open up a conversation, but it escalated very quickly. I barely even spoke, and now the paintings are just slanted on the floor, in the way of things. Tell me, what should I do with the paintings? Leave them where they are for him to do something with them, or put them back up? Did I fuck up by telling him my feelings about our home? Side note, he is very artistic and tapped into his feminine side. He takes decorating kind of seriously and always want a say in how our home is decorated, hence the reason why I haven't done much myself. Story 3. AITA for being frustrated that GF wants to change our plans to hang W friend instead on her last night in town. My 27M, GF, 27F, of about a year and a half is leaving town for a month and a half tomorrow morning. We've hung out twice this week, half of which was me helping her with chores while she worked, and I asked to spend some extra time together since she's leaving. We had our last hangout planned for late tonight after she hangs with a friend for a few hours, and she just asked if we could watch TV with her friend instead or push our plans back b/c. She forgot that a show she and her friend watch together premieres at the time we were supposed to hang out. I said that I felt hurt and frustrated bc. It's our last night together and would have appreciated the 1:1 time. Plans were at 10 p.m. so if we moved them we'd be up super late and it became a whole conflict. This has been an issue before. Usual conflict is she wants to feel like there's flexibility to move plans around, especially this week because we already hung out earlier this week. I want to feel prioritized and like our plans are honored, especially because it's our last night together for a while. AITA the asshole for telling her that it was frustrating and a little hurtful to change up our last plans together, leading to a conflict that we've had before, or should I have just gone with it? Story 4. AITA for selling my ex's sweater. So basically I, F20S, was talking to this guy, M20S, we'll call him Jack, that I met on Tinder a couple months back. We've since ended things because I just felt like he was making a lot of excuses and wasn't putting much effort into us, so I brought it up with him multiple times and decided to end things soon after. There are other fish in the sea. It wasn't a very amicable ending between us, but I wouldn't say there was any tension either, if that makes sense. Anyway, while we were together, I lent him some clothes to change into whenever he would come over so he could feel more comfortable, and we exchanged sweaters early on into us talking as well. So of course naturally, I'd want my belongings back after our breakup. The first time I asked for my stuff back was in the middle of September, and as mentioned before about him not putting much effort into us, one of those things was replying me once every few hours. It was so hard to get him to reply, meaning even harder to get my things. He ended up returning most of my stuff. He left them outside my house so I had no way of checking if anything was missing on the spot, on October 3rd. So that took him about 3 weeks. Annoying, but it's fine. At least he returned my stuff. However, I noticed that one t-shirt, a vintage Harley Davidson that cost about $40, was missing, and I texted him to let him know on the same day I got my things back, but he only replied literally a month later on November 4th. Which obviously pissed me off. He had sent me a picture of a random graphic tee asking if that was the correct one, to which I said no. He then told me to keep his sweater as leverage and I agreed, telling him to pass my t-shirt back soon as it belongs to my sister. He simply left me on read. More than a month went by and I was honestly just fed up at that point because, surprise surprise, there were no updates from him. So I texted him on December 13th asking if I could get the shirt by the end of the week, to which he read but didn't respond to. I texted again the next day, and then again on the 18th. No response even until now. I can't meet up with him either because he stays on campus in university and I have no idea where it is, so that's out of the question. I'd feel so bad selling his sweater because his sister gave it to him when she didn't want it anymore. But it's honestly my only option because he just refuses to reply. Maybe this is me being petty, but I want to repay my sister. And he also kinda deserves it. So, AITA? TLDR, an ex refuses to reply me regarding my t-shirt that he still has, and it's been 4 months since we've ended things, so I want to sell his sweater. Story 5. AITA for waiting to see postal worker tape my package. Shipping a high-value stuff. Long line in the store. Postal worker gave me the receipt, told me he will tape the box later. Asked him if he can seal it now. He refused because he had to help out the line. So I walked to the corner to wait on him taping my package. Story 6. AITA for wanting to leave one of my superannuation accounts to my kids. Superannuation in Australia is the lifetime compulsory savings for our retirement. I have 2 superannuation accounts. One through my work and one I have contributed to personally. I have 4 adult kids and my husband has none. He has never wanted to be a stepfather to them but accepts them in my life. My parents died young, 54 and 72. They were not financially well off, and when my mother passed, there was nothing left. My husband's parents and grandmother, 93, are still alive, and when they all pass, he will inherit a substantial amount. I started from a low socio-economic beginning but worked hard to get ahead. When I left my first husband, I had very little financially, $10,000 super and a house mortgaged to 95%. I have worked hard since, now 57, to be in a comfortable financial position. My now husband, been together 17 years, is in an equally comfortable position. We have mostly kept our money separate, agreed to from the start. The issue is, I want to leave an inheritance to my kids and my husband wants me to spend my money and leave them what is left, which he doesn't care if that is nothing. In the event that I die first, my work superannuation, which is 80% of my total superannuation, must go to my husband. That is the fund's rules and I have no choice in that. The house, I am happy to leave my half to my husband as we have both worked hard to buy this and renovate this. The only other significant thing I have, is the separate superannuation policy that I want to leave to my 4 kids. I can access the money in my separate superannuation fund at age 60. I am 3.5 years older than my husband. He wants me to access that money so we can buy a campervan and travel. Once you take that money out, you have to be over 60 and in pension mode, you cannot put it back in. We can use equity from the house to buy a campervan, or we can wait until he is 60, and both take half each from these separate super funds. He has one also but won't be 60 for 3.5 years after me. Then I would only be taking out half the amount he wants me to. My husband's view is, it's my, as in me not him, money and I shouldn't be holding on to it for the kids. I should be using it to do whatever I want to do with it, to enjoy my life. My kids were not the best behaved during their teenage years and have at times been very rude to me. Hubby hangs on to that and says they don't deserve anything. My view is, it's my money and I will use it if I need to for myself. We are not broke and can afford to do the things we talk about doing. But if I can avoid using it, I will, and then my kids will inherit something when I go. My kids don't know about this issue. AITA for not wanting to use that money unless necessary, and keep it in the superannuation fund for my kids. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.